Welcome to Wyecliffe In-Conversation. We're here with the artist David Renshaw today. We're at his studio in Southport. Welcome, Dave.
Welcome to you too.
Well, I feel like you should be saying welcome to us because obviously this is our first time actually venturing out with Wyecliffe
In all
In-Conversation.
these years, you've finally come north of Birmingham.
I
Yeah, it's scary though, isn't it? Birmingham?
Well, that's it. We Northerners have a reputation, and I think you seem to be a little bit apprehensive about coming up here, but we're very, very friendly people.
Yeah, you have been friendly, and it's also
We're not wild people.
No, you're tamed. It's an amazing area you live. I mean, coming over the bridge and seeing the sea and the beaches, it's just beautiful.
It really is. It's a lovely place to live. I've lived here most of my life, and we're really happy here. It's a nice place to bring up your family and peaceful, and it's got a bit of history. It's nice. We're really happy here.
Yeah, well, talking about the North and Northern, I mean, the series is Northern Romance, so it's kind of the backbone of your work, really, isn't it?
It is, and the Northern Romance work came about 2010 from memory, and it was all based upon the stories my nan told me about my late granddad, who I had never met, and she lost him sadly when she was very young, but she never remarried, and clearly held him very dear in her heart. And when she passed away, I began the series, and it was a bit of a nod to the two of them and their relationship. That's where it came from.
Yeah, because prior to that you'd been mostly a landscape painter, or had you ventured out into different genres?
I tried. When you're an up and coming artist trying to make it, and it's not easy. You try all kinds of things. I did paint predominantly landscape work, just because that's I love nature, and I feel most peaceful when I'm in a beautiful spot, and it seemed to be the type of work that I felt happy painting, and I could develop my skills slowly but surely, trying different landscapes and mountain scenes. You learn how to paint water, reflections and things like that. So I think landscape's a good starting point for an artist, because you learn an awful lot of technique without it being overly complicated. You can keep it quite simple, but you can actually develop your skills quite quickly by painting landscapes. That's where I started, and but you do always get to a point where you think it's time to try something different. And as I said, I introduced the two characters. I wanted to get some emotion into the work, and that sort of, for me, adding the characters which reflected my grandma's relationship with my granddad. It was a way of bringing a bit of human nature into the work, which you can sometimes miss with the landscape. It's beautiful to look at, it's a beautiful scene, but I wanted to create something more of a connection with the person who is viewing it, if you know what I mean. That was the aim, and to put across a positive message of how important our relationships are with our family and our friends and our loved ones. And that's how it began. And Northern Romance was the title it had to be, because my family are all Manchester on my dad's side, Leeds on my mum's side, so still Northern. I thought it was just a gentle nod, not to exclude everybody south of Birmingham, of course, and hence obviously the latest piece. I've fully embraced our capital city yet again.
Yeah, so it obviously did start in the north, because I want to say, and I can't remember if my recollection is wrong or not, but I want to say that you had some postcards that you based some of the very early works on, these vintage postcards that you collected.
The original works were, I had some old photographs of Whitby.
That was it. Yes, it was on postcards. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were the really old photographs of the harbour and everything, and they were really lovely shots. And I thought, and that's where the very first ones came. That's how they they started really, and it was just, you know, northern towns, northern scenes, terraced houses, things like that. A bit of a nod to the northern artists gone by, you know, L.S. Lowry and others, but I think, you know, that's how they started, but I always felt I needed to develop something of my own, you know, so I started introducing more vibrant colour into the work. That was the thing, because if you look at a lot of traditional northern art, they're very muted tones, muddy browns and muddy greens, and I like injections of strong colour, because I think sometimes colour can change your mood, you know, that's my opinion anyway. They started to progress, and I started bringing the landscape work into that, and just sort of taking it from there really, and finding just places and composing scenes that I find interesting, and hopefully other people will too.
Absolutely. So, because for myself, when I look at your artwork and the way that the Northern Romance has expanded, it's like you created a world. And so it started out with these few kind of, bringing the human nature into it, but it's become, you've taken, you know, Ted and Doris all over, not just the world, but they've gone into kind of quite imaginary realms as well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of a love story that's carried on through the years, but I think that's such an important component of it, that kind of companionship and endurance that comes through, and I think you've spoken about that quite a bit in the past as well, about that sentiment.
Well, that's what's important to me. My relationship, obviously, with Claire and my children and my grandchildren and my parents, etc. You know, these are the fundamentals, and I think for most people that is the case. And so, no matter what environment or what I'm painting, the focal point is always those two, always together, always solid and a unified couple. And because that to me, that's whatever's going on in the world, whatever's going on in my life, you know, that's the most important thing to me is my relationship and the love that, you know, I have with my partner. And so no matter, you know, like I said, what I'm painting, that's always going to be the dominant feature, and will, you know, in that type of work will always be the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with Ted and Doris, obviously you've taken them all around the world. They've been to New York, Edinburgh. They featured in several Edinburgh ones. The latest one's obviously London again. They've done London several times now. Why do you keep? Because it's a capital, or do you love London? Why the draw?
I think that for me, what drew me back to London with any scene, cityscapes they're always a labour of love. You know, I'm always happy with the result, but I know I'm in for a long ride with them because of the way I paint. I'm quite tight and methodical in the way I paint. I'm not loose. I sometimes wish I was, but I'm not. So I always have that slight apprehension about it, but there's something always draws me to it. And London, obviously, it's our capital city. This particular scene, what drew me to is the just composing the shot with the perspective from behind the House of Parliament, Big Ben, and the glow coming up from the bottom. I like lots of light and shade in the work, and I just felt it made a really good spot. And I always feel like they're taking a trip down south. You know, they don't have to be in the north all the time.
Yeah. So talking about the latest edition, obviously for many years you didn't do limited edition prints.
No, I held off for a long, long time. It wasn't an avenue I felt I wanted to pursue for a long time, but it became apparent that there was such a demand for the work, and I thought it's a great entry point for somebody who's interested in who appreciates and likes the work but perhaps is not in a position to be able to buy an original oil painting. An edition is the perfect starting point to begin your collection, you know, and it's often the case that, you know, people who begin collecting the limited edition pieces eventually end up buying an original oil painting too, you know, because it's just a good entry point, really. I think, you know, and but one thing, what I always said was I don't just want to churn out prints and you know, signature off, and you know, I don't want a production line of print, so we always keep the editions very low numbers. I always there is occasionally I'll get an artist proof as well, and as much as I like to keep one for myself, now and again I'll let one of those go too, but they are quite rare. So if you've got one of them, they're a rarity. But anyway, you know, all I wanted to make sure is that the quality is 100%, so it's got to be an accurate representation of the original. So I might get 3 or 4 proofs through, and I compare them against the original, make sure the contrast is right, make sure the colours are right, so they have to be spot on good quality canvas. And then I always hand finish them as well, so generally speaking I'll paint the heart in on each one, so every edition has got a oil painted, hand painted heart on. Obviously they're signed and numbered as well, and yeah, it's a quality product for a more affordable price, hopefully, and it is a good intro point for anybody wanting to start a collection.
Now, how many hearts have you painted over the years, Dave? I mean, I know when you do the edition runs, there's a lot of painting hearts, isn't there? Yeah, especially if the hearts are just a chain of them, maybe 7 on each one, then you've got to think, right, let's multiply that by 35. I'm going to be there a while. Yeah, but you do enjoy it though. Yeah. It's so different from the precision of oil painting, isn't it? When you do the hearts, so a little bit looser, and you listen to your podcast.
Look, I've painted that many of them. I'm pretty good at them.
Yeah,
I think it's safely say I'm pretty competent, shall I say?
I did recommend you get a heart stamp, but you just won't do that.
Be right.
No.
It wouldn't be right.
No, that's it. Everything you do is complete quality. Like we were discussing obviously before the cameras came on. I think so. Well, before the cameras came on, you were saying that if a bit of the painting isn't correct, you will literally scrub it out and start again. Yeah. So, and I think it's the same with the boutique editions, and they are boutique. They're very, very tiny round. They're completely hand finished by yourself, overseen by yourself end to end. Obviously, you spend a lot of time on like the colour matching as well to make sure, so you have several different kind of proofs to look at before they come out, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's important because I don't want to go into mass marketing posters and prints. I get asked for it a lot, but that's not what I want to do. I want the work to be more special for the person who buys it. You know, I want it to be a piece that they enjoy for many years, and you know, the inks that are used are all light fast pigment based inks, so that the quality won't deteriorate over time and things. So it's a piece that they can keep for, you know, for as long as they want to look at it. You know, that's and that's important. But the other thing is with edition pieces, I'm more interested in producing work which might be a little bit more involved. It's going to, you know, this latest piece, I've countless hours, 70-80 hours I've spent on the original, perfecting it to a point where I'm happy with it. Because for me, if it's going to be published, it's got to be something a bit special that stands out a little bit from perhaps the other work. Not to say the other work isn't special, but it's got to be just that bit different, because if we're going to produce 35 of them, the image has got to warrant it, you know.
You use the word perfect a lot, and you are a perfectionist in what you do. You're one of the few artists that still work in oil paints, which are the hardest mediums to work in.
I stumbled across the reason I work in oil paints, and this is the only reason, to be honest with you, is because before I even started painting professionally, I did a few watercolours and sketches and things when I was just painting for fun while I was working, and my dad bought me a set of Bob Ross oil paints. Brilliant. You know, the guy with the big head, the exact opposite of me, basically. I was like, oh, okay, right, we'll have a go at this. And then, like you said, what I realised is that oil painting isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be.
But you get the rich colour, don't you? And you get the
texture. Rich, vibrant colour. They blend really well. I did work with acrylics for a short period of time, but for me, they dry too quickly. I know you can buy mediums to slow down the drying process and stuff, but for me, you can't get the rich, buttery texture of oil paint. And a lot of my work is sky based, and for me they need to be, my personal opinion, they need to be soft, and I can only achieve that with oil paints. I mean, I've been asked if they're airbrushed, and they're genuinely not. Everything is brushed. You know, I use different size brushes, and there's a process, but everything's oil paint only.
I love unpacking your originals when you send them to the gallery. The smell of the oil paint is brilliant. And you're the only artist we've ever had where we unpack. We never have an issue with quality whatsoever. Your work is always perfectly
pristine.
Painted. Yeah,
it's absolutely pristine. But I think it's that care and attention that has ultimately, you talking about the limited editions, that's enabled you to possibly push yourself creatively as well, because you've been able to take us to Abbey Road through some of the exclusive works with us. And so you've got Abbey Road there. Obviously you've got the Spellbound collection, which takes Ted and Doris off into kind of the wizarding world, which is absolutely amazing.
Through a Harry Potter phase, where I think probably because my children were watching it, and because it's not something I would have generally watched, and I got obsessed with it. I was just like, oh, this is great. I'm definitely going to paint this. And they make for good. It's a different look to the work, but I still managed to squeeze Ted and Doris in there somehow, you know, make a few adjustments in there, what they call artistic license.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's that spark of imagination of being able to take, like Ben says, to New York and into different locations, being able to spend that extra amount of time on those paintings. But that's not to say that the paintings that come to market that the collectors normally buy don't have a lot of time in them, because they do. They spend a lot of time researching those in their own right.
Absolutely. I think it's just like you said, it's on an edition piece, they just need to stand out a little bit, that's all, and they need to be a strong image that's going to, you know, warrant publishing, basically, you know. But like I said, you know, every piece I do is considered, and I'm always considering the composition, the palette I'm going to use, how the lighting's going to affect different aspects of the work, and you know, even on the landscape, you know, where's the light coming from, where's it going to hit the water, where the reflection's going to be, is that going to work where I'm putting my characters, you know, and these are all things that maybe I overthink it. That's just the way I work. But back to what you said about oil paints, you know, although I like contemporary work, but I'm quite traditional in my approach to painting. It's oil, you know, primed surfaces, oil paints, and varnish. You know, and it's a tried and tested method. I know there's other methods of painting which are fantastic, but maybe I'm getting old. But you know, that's
well, it certainly works.
It suits me, you know.
And go back to the landscape. I remember when you went to on holiday to Mauritius, and when you came back, the paintings you did, the skies, the beaches, they were superb.
Well, we were. Shall I say lucky enough or unlucky enough to see a huge storm, and I stayed on the beach. Everybody else had gone into the bar and was sipping cocktails, but no, I stayed on the beach and took photographs and experienced it, and it was just like, it was unbelievable. You know, I've never seen anything like that, and I loved the way that the light was still hitting the sand, so you had this beautiful white sand, but then you know, the sky was like apocalyptic, you know, but it was
incredible.
It made for a dramatic painting, you know.
I remember you saying, I'm coming back from Mauritius, I'm going to paint a few pieces of here, and we thought it'd be white sand and blue sky, and what arrived, very different paintings, but they were superb.
I brought the darkness.
We bring the darkness.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, talking about oil paints, moving on to a different medium, obviously you have your pencil sketches, which I particularly adore, I have to say, because they bring your storytelling just to a different, almost landscape in their own right. Yeah,
I think what I like most about the pencil sketches, because obviously they take less time, and so I can concentrate more on characterization and interaction between the characters, add some fun elements to it, you know, so, and I've mimicked movie scenes and things like that, and it's fun for me sketching. And I think sometimes, you know, you can do a sketch and think that's going to work as an oil painting as well, and it's a good way of me sort of exploring my creativity without demanding too much time, you know. So, you know, with an oil painting you're committed, and you've got to, you know, there's a process of time which you've got to go through to complete the task. With a sketch you might complete one in a day or two, but at least it gives you that opportunity to try different things and experiment a little bit, you know, which it's fun.
Yeah, and I think some of them have been really fun because you did some of them that were like Dirty Dancing inspired and kind of Pulp Fiction as well, and it's just nice
I'm
to
giving away my favourite movies. They're all going to know that he's a big softie and I like rom-coms. Hang on, Pulp Fiction. No, come on.
I was going to say, that wasn't quite a rom-com.
That's got some credibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Quentin Tarantino.
But it is the dancing.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see that fun side kind of coming through in there as well, because obviously the paintings obviously have their as you said, their slightly darker side, because I mean relationships are not all on one level, life isn't all on one level, and I think the collection in a whole kind of reflects that. But
I mean, some of the paintings I can you know sometimes paint stormier skies and things, and but there's always, I hope that people can see there's always the positivities between the two characters and their relationship and how important that is, not just to them but to all of us, you know, and I'm not even just talking about romantic relationships, it could be a best friend, or, you know, it's just the relationships we form in our lives are what makes us, I think, in many respects, you know, and what gives us what certainly for me gives me the most joy in my life. You know, my family and friends are the most important thing. But like you said, you know, sometimes the scenes might seem a bit dark in at glance, but that's just life, isn't it? You know, life isn't always perfect.
Completely. I think that there's.
I didn't want it to be.
No. I think not. It'd be like vanilla the whole time.
Exactly.
But I think that authenticity comes through from whether it's the way that you approach the technique of your art, whether it's the story that you're telling. The authenticity really just comes through. But I still find it staggering that you are completely self-taught. I mean, how did you train yourself to be such a beautiful oil painter?
Other than Bob Ross, obviously.
Hey, give Bob his credit.
Yeah.
He could not get out in half an hour.
Yeah,
well, according to the TV show. Look, the thing is, the advice, if I was giving advice to somebody starting and how to develop, if you're not being trained as such, study the work that you love and study the aspects of each piece that you love. So if there's a painter that you really love, the way that they compose the scene or something, you can. I find it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You take elements of this, that, and the other, but the end goal has got to be something original and unique to yourself. But I think all artists are inspired by aspects of other artists' work, and I think art brings on more art, you know, and it's a continuing cycle. It's always been the case, you know, and so you know I liked certain aspects of artists' work that I've really admired and tried to emulate an aspect of that, and then bring a little bit of this in and bring a little bit of that in and sprinkle a bit of fairy dust on it, and hopefully you come out with a product. But it's a process that takes time. It does take time and a lot of hours. You've got to be prepared to put the hours in. That's the thing. And I was, you know, well, the truth was I had no choice. I had a mortgage and children to provide for, so I had to make it work. It was kind of a blessing in disguise. It was stressful at the time, leaving a career that I'd been in for a long time, and you know, starting out as it was a leap of faith, but I was willing to put the work in. Thankfully, I was young enough to have the energy to do it as well. So I did put the hours in to put the graft into to produce, to be able to learn and produce work that I thought was to a standard I was happy with.
I think that's a massive common theme amongst the artists that we've been lucky enough to work with over the years, and obviously we've had relationships that have been long-standing, much like yourself, with a lot of them, and it comes through that it's the ones that persist, that they're dedicated, they're motivated and disciplined with it, and you know that you have to carry on, and it might not be your first collection, your second collection, it might be your 5th, 10th something, and it's just that kind of continuing on to make sure that you stay the course, really, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
I mean, so some people have said, oh, you're very lucky because you're so talented, you've got a God-given talent, and I don't buy that personally, because talent is an equation. It's ability, motivation and opportunity. So yes, you're lucky to have the ability to do it, but you've got to be motivated enough to really want it and be willing to put the hours in. And then the opportunity comes where people like yourselves are willing to represent my work and show it and get it out and show people and get it out there.
So one of the things that I find absolutely incredible with working with yourself, and one of the reasons why it's been really easy to give you an opportunity, which is, it sounds like it was us to give you, like we're giving out these magic tickets or something like that, but one of the reasons why it's such a pleasure to work with you is because of that dedication, because there's such a great deal of collaboration. And one of my favourite things about working with you is actually when we come together and host the shows, because as you've already said at the beginning of us talking, we don't get to see you as much because obviously you're here, we're down in Weybridge, so the shows give us the opportunity to come together and obviously for you to kind of create a body of work that we can put on display. And I suppose that must be quite a magical thing, being able to walk into a gallery and see it just hung with your work.
Yeah, it's unusual because obviously when I send the work out, it's unframed, it goes to the framers before, and then onto yourselves. And I never see a collection of work together unless we do the shows, and it's quite overwhelming when you walk in. The main thing I feel is tired, because I think, wow, there's a lot of work. There's a lot. I remember the hours I've put into each piece, but it's lovely to see them. But what, apart from obviously meeting your good selves, and it's lovely to meet the collectors who appreciate your work and collect the work, and you get, because you get that connection and what each piece brings to that person, and it's always completely different. Somebody gets something from one piece and other people will get something completely different from it, and it's always fascinating.
It's the same with us in the gallery. We're very lucky. We have absolutely incredible collectors, and kind of, you talk about opportunities. Without the collectors, we wouldn't exist, you wouldn't exist.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're very grateful for that position, because obviously otherwise we wouldn't get to do what we get to do all day long, which is you get to paint, we get to sit here in the kitchen, I'm going to be eating some cookies in a little bit, and just chatting about art all day.
These aren't real.
Oh, these steps, these props. So yeah, I think that the collectors themselves, they afford us this great privilege to be able to work with art each and every day with incredible people like yourselves, and I hope that will continue for many more years.
Me
I
too.
really do.
Yeah, it's a blessing to be able to do what I do, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't absolutely love it. So like you said, hopefully we can continue this for many years to come.
Well, you paint Ted and Doris all over the world, and we ship Ted and Doris all over the world. So we have collectors of yours literally weekly. We have works going Australia, New Zealand, America.
It's amazing.
It's brilliant. Sometimes you think, how have these people seen the work? Yeah. Of course, the power of social media really helps, but yeah, we tend to find we might get a collector in South America, and just suddenly, and then we get, obviously they buy a painting and they show their friends and they come around to the house, and then we end up with this collector base in Argentina. It's amazing. So they really do travel.
It is, when you think, I'm this from a little northern town, to think that the work is getting out to the USA, Australia, South America, it's incredible. It's such I feel so blessed to be able to do it. That's all, and the fact that people respond so well to the work, it's really is a blessing.
Well, I think that's the power of the Northern Romance story, to circle it right back to the beginning. But I think that is genuinely the power of it, because it transcends culture and generation.
It's a human.
Race.
It's a human
story.
Yeah,
it really
human
is.
Thing. It's the majority of us. That's where we get most of our joy from our relationships and the people we interact with on a daily basis.
Brilliant. Well, I just wanted to thank you, Dave, for housing us.
Yes, for having us.
And you're very welcome. Yeah. Anytime you have to come up again. Anytime you want.
You'll regret saying that.
Not tomorrow.
Well, thanks, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cut.
Cut. guys can come have cookies
Come on,
and stuff.
come and have some cake and
I'm
cookies.
in for this cookie.